Hello and thank you for joining me. I'm Gregory. This is 1 in 20 D&D and this video is going to cover session 9 of the VÄRLDEN Reach, and here's my recap of this incredible session. You know, here we go. In a nutshell, here's what happened. We left the Dwarven Mine where we had defeated Moghan, went back to get our horses from Alduin's cave, and then went back to Unity. Met with the leaders of the Vakter, got some information, and decided we're gonna head out to find where another missing unit of the elite units is. That's functionally what happened during this session. Now, that being said, we spent the entire session role-playing and having like moment after moment after moment of interaction between different members of the party, and also members of the party members of the party having interactions with Alduin, Crag, our commander, the Master at Arms, Crag, and Commander Thane, the two heads of the Vakter, or two heads of the military side of the Vakter, anyway. And also had some interactions with Predator's mom and with the head priest of the Temple of Ayus. Now, again, that's like the big picture of what happened. I'm going to try to kind of touch base on the like real key points of what went down, because there's just too much to discuss in this session. There's so many different things that occurred, little funny jokes, and these really touching moments too. So let me see where I can go and try to dial in some of the important stuff. On our way from the mine back to Unity, it's a 4-day trip. So something happened pretty much every day and every night. Some kind of conversation, interaction, etc. The biggest one, I suppose, or the easiest one to touch on first, is that Alina, 3 nights in a row, basically, Alina talked to 3 different people about 3 different journals. So she came to Jermaine the first night and said, hey, she kind of like woke him up in the middle of the night. Basically, probably she was on her shift and her guard shift, or whatever you want to call it, and said, hey, Jermaine, I need you to read this. Actually, she woke him up and asked him to step away from the group quietly, and once they were kind of out of earshot, asked him, hey, can you read this book? The next night, she did the same thing with Alduin, who is actually the writer of these 3, apparently, journals. 2 we know for sure. The third one was actually in Alina's possession from before she even joined the Vakter, which is really interesting. Why does she have Alduin's journal? The third night, she paid Titus to stay sober enough to help her read and translate another one of the journals. So she's kind of gone through and she's trying to like piece together the story that's being tied into these, or through these journals. And functionally, it's Alduin's story. It's like, he was a member of the Vakter. He met a woman in Handel, fell in love with her. She was some powerful merchant lady, and basically eschewed his duties at the Vakter. And then when he decided he had to cut and run, which is where the first journal was left off, and that's the journal that Alina actually had in her possession, he went home to the Whispering Woods, I believe it is. He's a wood elf, so he went home and didn't feel like he belonged there, and didn't want to face the music and go back to Unity and the Vakter, so he ended up turning to a life of being a bandit. And then over time, this cat Moghan shows up and one thing leads to another. Moghan takes over and becomes the head of this bandit group. Now, while Alduin was the head of the group, he insisted that there was no violence committed. And one thing that Perdita found out when she had a nighttime conversation with Alduin is that he was actually there, apparently, when Perdita was injured and scarred. And he basically explains to her sort of what happened, in that there was this young kid who joined up in the group, as in this bandit group, and he was kind of an arcane wielder of magic, and said, hey, watch me put everyone to sleep. And instead of putting everyone to sleep, he blew himself and everyone up in the group. And this, a lot of the bandits, apparently all of the people that they were trying to rob, and himself. His name was Christoph Perikins, and he blew up in a vehemently huge green flame. So, yeah. I loved that one, actually, quite honestly, Mark. Thank you for that. Although it did take me like almost 24 hours to get the joke, but we won't talk about that. So anyway, so Perdita got this huge bit of information, and asked, he like, once Alduin kind of like put things together of like, oh gosh, that was you, or like you were there or something. He's like, she asked him like, can you tell me where it happened? I know it was 13 years ago, but is it possible you remember? And he's like, I'll never forget it. So again, Gregory's and Germain's belief is that this kid was a wild mage, and basically blew himself up accidentally. Trying to cast a sleep spell, had a wild surge, and poof, he became a fireball. So what else? Again, Titus has been drinking and not drinking and drinking and not drinking. He wasn't drinking because basically, again, Alina paid him not to drink. The first day we left, the one thing happened that was Germain tried to, again, he's constantly trying to like break the ice, get everybody to start to kind of open up and trust each other and talk to each other and whatever. So he kind of like said, hey, I've seen you guys kind of using these interesting little trinkets, and they seem to be pretty powerful. And hey, look, here's my coin, which I can kind of like twist fate. What he can do is he can force a reroll, either for himself or for someone else, like twist fate or change fate. It's kind of like a small version of the lucky fate. I've mentioned it before. He says, hey, I've got this coin. It's kind of a little bit of magic, and it's kind of a sad story about how I got it, but maybe I'll tell you the story another time. But I'm really curious because, tactically it'd be nice to know, like, hey, Titus, I've seen you do some funny thing with a little cube, and then all of a sudden you're like, your spear is like on fire or something. My goodness, Perdita, when we were fighting those ambushers, she shot some crazy arrow, and it like turned into like three missiles at once or something. And so so he's trying to again break the ice. Nobody wants to say anything, which at this point Germain is pretty much he's totally accustomed to that, but he's not going to give up. Sooner or later he figures, I think that it's like sooner or later somebody's going to talk. He and Perdita have started to develop a really nice relationship again. I kind of have this thought in my head of like big brother, little sister kind of thing. But at the same time, Germain really, really, really respects Perdita. She's this like really strong young lady. She's got her head, she's focused, and he really likes that. And so he's kind of developing this relationship. And at the same time, Perdita is starting to trust Germain. I think she can see that his heart's in the right place. And even though he's a little bit, I don't want to say flamboyant because that's not right. He's gregarious. He's very like energetic and alive, and he silly. of course. At the same time, he's also he's like he cares for everybody, and I think that's I hope and think that's obvious through the way I'm playing Jermaine. And so Perdita has also started to warm to him a little bit, also because of some of the interactions. Jermaine has like come to her like, hey, are you okay? I'm here if you need somebody to talk to. Let me, I'm here if you need some help. So there's a nice bond growing between them. One thing that happened again on this 4-day trek back to Unity, after she saw the location where kind of had the conversation with Alduin, then like a day or two later, Alduin points out, hey, this is where it happened. She then, right before they get to Unity, basically, or the night before they get to Unity or something, says, hey, Alduin showed me where it happened, and I'd like to ask for some time off to go look at this. And Jermaine's like, hey, that's a great idea, and if you'll let me, I'd love to come be with you and support you and help you. And she was like, yeah, please, that was actually why I wanted to talk to you in the first place. I think I'll probably ask Lily to come as well. And so that's something that's definitely going to happen somewhere down the road. I'm looking forward to that, how that plays out. I think that, another thing Jermaine tried to do on the way back, and he didn't try to, he actually did, is I think he's starting to get a sense of how to relate with Marana, which is fun. Marana's quiet. She doesn't really like talking a lot. And Jermaine, total opposite, talks all the freaking time. So he approached her very subdued, just kind of like rode up alongside her for a minute, just quietly, calmly. Hey, can I ask you a question? And then she didn't really respond, which was kind of funny, but that in a way she was responding. She's kind of like looking at him sideways, and a little bit of, I'm sure there was like the slightest bit of body language. And so, after a few moments of just, again, kind of like quiet, Jermaine said, hey, that thing you did when we were scouting and trying to check out the cave, where you kind of took 5 or 10 minutes to be quiet, and then you had all this information about verifying and confirming the layout of the cave or the mine, which you confirmed that Alduin, who at the time we thought was Turotar, of course, but Alduin, you confirmed the information he gave to us was accurate. You also said, this is who's in there, here's what we need to do, let's go do this, and he was really impressed. Is that something you can do more than once? Is that something that you can use? Because that's a hugely valuable asset for the team. And Jermaine doesn't know, is that a ranger thing or what? Is that something? But anyway, she says, yes, I can do it again. And he that was good enough for Jermaine. And so Jermaine just shut the fuck up and kept riding. That was it. He just, for the rest of for a little while longer, however long she was comfortable, he rode alongside her in silence. And that was kind of a fun bit of interchange. Again, all this kind of stuff is happening as we get back to Unity. Now, when we get back to Unity, of course, more stuff goes down. So we go pretty much right away to see Crag and to turn over Alduin. And he's like, congratulations, another job well done. He gives we get a bonus, an extra gold. So we got a 200 gold piece stipend for our successful mission. And then they also tacked on an extra 50 gold pieces each, of course, 200 plus an extra 50 each. 200 each plus an extra 50 each. So a total of 250 gold pieces each. Sorry for that. And because we brought Alduin back, which was kind of like above and beyond what was expected of us. Now, that was pretty much all that happened with Crag. He's like, okay, great, get your stuff. And there was some interplay. Jermaine was like, hey, Alduin has really been helpful. He's a bastard. Apparently, he became a bandit for all these years. He's got some atoning to do. And he gave us completely accurate information. he didn't fight or struggle. He was willing to come back. He helped us in our fight. So, hey, let's be lenient with this guy maybe. Marana asked if we can have permission to continue to ask this guy questions because he may have some information for us. Or maybe down the road we might need to ask him some other things, or at least maybe Perdita might want to try to get some more from him. Who knows? So that was pretty smart, I think. I mean, Gregory thinks that was really smart of TBQ to have Marana ask. So also that night, so the night we get back, we kind of split and did a couple different things. Perdita went back to home, and of course, Jermaine is missing Kylie's pastries and sweets and treats, and so he tagged along, of course, and just kind of was a wallflower for a moment when they kind of had a moment of like she could, her mom could see like something is going on and whatnot, and then Jermaine just kind of did a little silly teasing and left some coins to help out whatever, and then took a small bit of treats and kind of left. And then Perdita had asked Crag to come by the house so she could have a conversation with her mom and him. So they had their conversation. She kind of filled in Crag and her mom about Alduin and what he said and the information she's gotten recently. And she had another vision, I think. Did she have another vision? Yeah, she had another small vision. And so she... Oh, yeah, so she had another vision since she had talked to her mom and Crag, so she kind of told them all this stuff that's happened. I also see that... I'm trying to keep this all straight in my head. So Marana went by Fenton's and picked up the item because Fenton had sent her a message. The item was ready, so she picked up this cool collar for Ku. It's a dragon scale collar. It's got one scale from each of the dragons. I'm assuming it's the chromatic, of course, only chromatic dragon scales, and it boosts Ku's armor, which is super cool. And Marana has a matching bracelet, so try to make Ku feel a little better, I guess. But it's also pretty cool. So Jermaine is still like building this relationship with Ku. Also, there's all these silly little things that happen during the session that are kind of fun. And Ku, again, Jermaine has this bond with Ku. Like Ku keeps Ku saving Jermaine, Jermaine saving Ku, or whatever. There's this fun thing that's happening between the two of them. And what else? Titus went to look for some information. Lily went to the temple to kind of give over some of her coin as well as volunteer. So she keeps donating most of what she's earning to the church, and she of course volunteered in the clinic again, while Titus went and did some research. He went to the embassy for Brennan and tried to do some research for people who apparently slaves who were freed, I guess, or liberated. I'm not sure. So he, I guess, had no luck, and so ended up back at the house. So once all this kind of stuff goes, Alina and Marana were hanging out, went to Fenton's, back to the house. Jermaine ends up back at the house. So Jermaine, Alina, Marana, Titus back at the house. Jermaine and Titus and Marana have some drinks, and Jermaine tries to kind of, again, break the ice with Titus and like talks a little bit about like, hey, isn't it great that we don't have to deal with ranks anymore? I call you sergeant, of course, because I'm trying, I respect you. That was your rank, so I'm going to call you by your rank. Hey, what about this and that? So one thing that came out from that conversation is that apparently the mercenary group that Titus was a part of was called the Firehawks. So I'm interested to find out more about who they are. That's about all that I got from talking with Titus. So everybody in this group is like super like tight-lipped, with the exception of Perdita, because what's happened to her, like these flashes happen, and it's like she actually mentioned it to Jermaine during the session that like she's worried, like she's afraid that these like, what if it happens when we're fighting, during combat, or during a moment that's like critical? What if she has one of these visions, or these, whatever they are, memory resurges, or whatever it is? So she's a little worried about it. And so he's, again, hey, the mind is, sometimes it takes longer to heal. So it might happen, and we're all here for you. That's why you have a party. That's why you have a group that you're a part of. We can look out for each other. And Titus is not interested in hearing anything about that at all. He doesn't want to. He says there's two things you need to know about me. One is that I'm a bastard, and two, glug glug glug. So that was pretty literally what was said in the conversation. Then there was some more joking and silliness, and basically Jermaine went upstairs drunk and passed out. Marana left before him because it got a little silly and saucy, and she had enough. And then the next morning, so that night after Lily did her service, she went to the local tavern and decided that she was gonna have some drinks herself, by herself. So she was down there, she starts getting drunk, and she basically like takes off her breastplate and starts talking to this bartender like, why are people so messed up, and why are people so cruel and horrible? And like, she shows these scars and actually she's been branded on her shoulder, and the bartender's like wide-eyed, like just in silence, like, what do I don't even know how to talk to this, I don't know what to do. She gets hammered. She's like, she finally gives up. She's like, by that point, probably only talking in Gnomish, who knows. And then she drags her breastplate back to the house. Titus, last one downstairs, kind of wakes up and sees the scar, or the brand rather, and doesn't know what to make of it. Is he drunk? Is it real? He kind of like files that, or just lets it pass, or whatever. Lily drops her breastplate in the middle of the floor and goes up to her room. Perdita stayed at her mom's house. Lily, that night, had another dream. This dream is pretty similar to the first one. This time she's at this big table. There's like this banquet happening. This same priest is there in his robes. There's all these like wealthy nobles or something. Everybody's eating, being served by commoners. The nobles' faces start melting off again. They're eating like rotten food and still like ha ha ha, happy, whatever, having this meal. And all of the servants and commoners, they get how do I want to say it? Like, they wither basically in her dream. And then she sees like 4 gnomes, I think, or 3 or 4 gnomes, and apparently it's her parents. And they're asking like, help us. So she wakes up and she's like, what is this? And she's really freaked out from this nightmare. So the next morning, when everyone wakes up, Marana's kind of the first one outside. She goes out to train. Jermaine and Perdita, the 3 of them are all up early, but Marana was the first one outside. She finds Commander Thane waiting outside, back by our training ground that we've created, and he asks to see the pelts that we got from these crazy wolf things that we fought before coming back to Unity the first time. Marana takes him downstairs, looks at the pelts. It kind of confirms some suspicions he has. He says, I want to talk to everyone, but let's get everyone together. Marana's like, hey, they're all asleep. Get everybody downstairs. No, that's not happening. Lily, so we go outside. Perdita and Jermaine at that point were outside training. Marana and Thane come back outside, and Thane says, hey, we need to have a little meeting here. So Perdita and Jermaine go inside to get everyone. Jermaine plays Reveille to try to wake everyone up. It's a pointless endeavor because basically Titus doesn't even stir from it, and Alina had already snuck outside, and Lily is just cowering in the corner, hasn't slept a wink pretty much after having that dream, and is just like dealing with stuff. So Perdita, she goes upstairs to do the more kind of polite thing and knock on doors. She bangs on Titus's door. He's like, go away. I don't feel good. She's like, get up. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Goes to Lily's door. Hey, Thane is here. We need to go talk to him. Lily's like, go away. I'm not coming. Are you okay? And Perdita's like, hey, are you okay? And Lily's like, go away. Perdita's, hey, do you want to come in? Lily says, that's the opposite of what I want. Go away. And basically, Perdita says, okay, I'll tell Thane you're not feeling well. Goes to Alina's room. Knock, knock, knock. Nobody's there. And then goes back to Titus's room. Knock, knock. Get up. And Titus is like, I will hang my head out the window and listen. Go away. So Perdita comes back downstairs to me. He's like, what happened? They go outside. And Thane proceeds to tell them, hey, something's going on. Those first goblin-y creatures that you fought that then turned into some other big monsters, and then when you set them on fire, they just like poofed into dust. That's kind of weird. And these beings, I think, are from another plane, as well as these wolf creatures that you killed and you have your pelts from. They seem to be from another plane of existence. And there's reports coming in from other different places that something's happening. This isn't right. We don't know what's happening. We don't know who's causing this trouble. So kind of be on guard, be on the lookout. And he also says that the group that had gone to Riverrun to do some investigation, because apparently everyone in Riverrun has disappeared. One of the elite teams went to go investigate, and now they've disappeared. So Thane is sending us to go investigate as well. Says go to Mori, get your gear. We say, all right, we'll get to it as quick as we can. Try to go back inside and get Lily and Titus out of bed. Titus is dealt with by Marana. Lily Perdita tries to go in and talk to, but when she goes into the room, Lily has basically slipped out the window during the conversation we had with Thane. So Lily Perdita and Germaine are really concerned about Lily. They go back to see what's going on with Titus and find Marana like dripping water over Titus's head, his chest, his stomach, his crotch, and he's like finally reluctantly like, fine, I'll get up. And then Marana hands him the bucket and is like, hey, you better hydrate, which he tries to throw the bucket of water at her and misses. And so all kinds of that silly madness was happening pretty much throughout the whole session this last week. Titus is in a bad way. His drinking has really caught up to him, and he is suffering from 3 levels of exhaustion at this point. And like he's moving at half speed. He's just not doing good. Spit it out. Perdita is like, hey, we need to go find out what's going on with Lily. I think she went to the temple. So Germaine's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Alina says, hey, we need to get this dude, meaning Titus. We need to get Titus to the temple. So they all kind of head off to the temple. Marana's like, yeah, I'm going to go see Mori about our gear. And so that's what the group does. Germaine's like, okay, here, hands the breastplate and shield to Perdita. Like, hey, Alina, let me help you with Titus. So they kind of help Titus stumble along. Perdita gets there ahead of time, finds Lily kind of in one of the pews, just like sitting cross-legged and kind of in silence rather. So Perdita just sits down and kind of like gives her a little bit of space for a few minutes. We show up, several minutes later, look around. Titus basically collapses on the back pew. Alina and Germaine go and find someone. We end up finding the head priest, Thorin, and who Lily calls T. That's kind of her pet name for him, her friend name for him, which I think is awesome. So Alina and Germaine get T to heal Titus. We said, Germaine is like, yeah, our friend, we think he might have got poisoned, trying to cover for Titus. And Alina's like, you're not helping, because basically Thorin said, yeah, it doesn't smell like poison. It smells like he did it to himself. So he casts Greater Restoration, gets Titus back on his feet. Now, Perdita and Lily. So Perdita goes over and sits next to Lily. And at this point, Lily and Perdita have this amazing conversation. It was really, really heartfelt and wonderful. And Perdita basically kind of says, like, hey, I'm worried about you. Please don't go running off like that. If you need to leave, everybody needs space sometimes. If you need to leave, just let us know. Hey, I'll be back. That kind of thing. And so Lily kind of airs some stuff with Perdita and says some stuff about, again, why are people so shitty, and how do you do it, and that kind of thing, and how do you stay positive, that kind of thing. And again, it's just this wonderful conversation. And then Lily's kind of like, all right, Perdita says, hey, by the way, we got Thane wants us to go do this thing in Riverrun. And Lily's like, oh, isn't that the place where all the people were missing? Hey, I wanted to go do that anyway. So Perdita helps Lily put her armor back on. Lily says, hey, help me put my armor on. Perdita helps her, sees the brand, but doesn't say anything, just keeps it to herself. So the group then goes back to meet Marana at the house. We've got all our stuff pretty much ready to go on to session 10 coming this weekend. Now, okay, so that's like all the crazy stuff that happened, as well as I could put it into thought. Every week I keep having this like, oh my god, this is my favorite character now. And like, oh my god, this is my favorite character. I think I love all of you guys. You guys are all my favorite characters. This week for sure, Lily, oh my goodness. Every time Lily was having, something happen, or like she had her dream, and then she goes and has this awesome, actually I skipped over something. She had this amazing conversation with T when she first got there, like, I'm having the dreams, what's going on, help me. So every time something happens, like when she's in the bar talking with the bartender and we first find out about her scars, and then when she's having this nightmare, and then she's talking to T, and then she's talking to Perdita. It's like every time this is happening in this session, my heart is Gregory's heart is breaking, and I'm like, a couple times I'm like on the verge of tears. I'm like, oh no, I just feel so horrible for Lily right now, and I'm like, okay, God. How is Jermaine going to react if and when he finds out about this? Like I know how Gregory would react. So, and it would be hopefully sensitive, but damn, would I want to like murder someone at that point or something. Oh my God. And wow. So I'm really curious to see what happens again, when Jermaine finds out anything about Lily's background. And actually Jermaine has wanted to have some conversations with Lily too. It just hasn't come up. It hasn't seemed like the right time. And, so that's going to be heavy. I'm really looking forward to that. This was just another great session. Titus dealing with his alcohol situation. Alina trying to figure out what's going on with these journals. Marana got her new toy, her new bow, trying to protect Q. Marana kind of had a quiet session. Had a couple key moments, which was nice, and did her thing and helped us out when necessary. She asked, I really like TBQ's kind of how do I want to say, her perceptiveness as a player. Like, I really like the questions she chooses to ask in character. It's really awesome. And then, Perdita just kind of like getting some getting some clues, which is so it's juicy, it's delicious stuff in game and out. It's awesome, exciting, and fun to witness. So what a great session. Again, so much role playing and such wonderful role playing as always. I am totally thrilled about our next session. I can't wait to see what happens next. And of course, like, where are these people? What happened to an entire fishing village and an elite unit from the Vactaire? Where did they all go? What's going on? I guess we'll have to wait till our next session. So, tune in next time. I hope you enjoyed this silly romp through my addled brain in my crazy review of session 9 of the VÄRLDEN Reach. Stay tuned for session 10 coming at you next. And hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes and comments. I hope you enjoyed this silliness and some of my madness, and I hope you'll come back for the next one too. Look forward to seeing you then. I also look forward to seeing you at a table someday, and keep rolling 20s, everybody.